All right, so it seems like people are still trickling in, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome, everybody. This is the second session of the Lunar Academy series for Introduction to Lunar Elements. For those of you who have just woken up and just joining from the States, good morning, welcome. And for those of you who stayed up late, then thank you, good to see you. We've got a lot of information to share with you over the next 30 minutes or so, so we're going to go straight into it. Hopefully we won't have the same that we had this morning with a fire alarm. Yeah, essentially my name is Adam Stevens. I'm VP of Product at ironSource, and I've been with Luna and now ironSource for the last 2.5 years. So I want to share quickly what we plan to go through today and what we hope that you'll take away from the session. So essentially we're going to start with a brief introduction into Luna and a little bit around what we do here. Won't spend too long on that. And then we're going to take a step back and talk about the power of playable ads and some of the success that we've seen over the recent years. From then, we're going to go into the kind of main topic of today's session, which is Lunar Elements and how you can use our new tool set to make highly performing, high APM playable ads with no need for code and no need for developer resource. We'll do a live demo of the platform and hopefully give you a better insight into how quick and how simple it can be for your studio. And then we'll take a look at some more tips and tricks for how you can leverage Lunar Elements as a tool set within your production process to enable a different type of playable ads for potentially some different scenarios and some existing scenarios that you might already be leveraging today. And then penultimately, we're going to share some more information that we have on an ads credit giveaway that we have going on with in partnership with ironSource. So hopefully you'll all stick around to hear more about that at the end. And then we'll leave, hopefully 5 minutes to take some live Q&A from the attendees. So please feel free to drop your questions into the chat throughout the session, and we'll try to address as many as we can towards the end. So as way of an introduction, Luna Labs provides a creative management solution, which is essentially a set of products, set of tools that enable app developers, and mostly game studios today, with the ability to create, manage, and optimize their playable and video ads. And really everything that we do at Luna is geared up to make the studio more efficient and more effective with tools that they can take in-house. We've been, obviously Luna Labs was founded in 2018, and we've been empowering mobile game studios with our technology since then. And we're very happy to say that this year in February, we joined the ironSource family. So now we're kind of leading part of their creative management solution efforts, as I said, to drive adoption of, better creators in the industry. We're around 50 Lunarians, and that's Luna employees, for folks who aren't familiar with that term. We have offices globally, and currently we help power around 700 creatives from our creation tools on a given month, and that's steadily growing as well. So just to zoom in a little bit on the 3 product pillars that I mentioned there around create, manage, and optimize. You'll see that with these product pillars, we're really focusing on solutions for our customers at each major stage of that creative process. And for today's webinar, we're going to zoom in on our create solutions and take a look more at playable ads, and in particular, the tool set that we built over the last couple of months, which is Lunar Elements. And hopefully you'll be able to understand some of the DNA around Luna and how we're trying to empower studios to be more efficient and more effective with their production. Before we go into the details, we just want to take a step back and recognize the importance of playable ads in a studio's user acquisition. So over the last 3 years, and essentially that's been heightened, and especially in the last 18 months, we've seen an increasing need for game developers to use playable ads as part of the successful and profitable growth strategy. And playable ads not only offer this potential for growth, but they also offer unique advantages at other static formats or video formats, such as in-ad events and kind of a dynamic aspect to that format. And generally, we've seen that as studios have adopted this format, they've seen more and more success as they learn really what makes a great playable ad. And they've been able to leverage tool sets that are available to them to also increase the production time. So if we take a look at an example here of a Luna customer, you can see that they were running on a fairly high budget, seeing some great success on their campaign with video ads only. Now, what happened is when they enabled the playable ad in that campaign, the share of voice and the share of spend from the playable ad format quickly dominated over the video. And that's basically showing you that the performance and the return on investment was higher with this new format. And I think for this advertiser especially, but also for many advertisers we've seen, is that, whilst playable ads can take 2 or 3 attempts to make that winning concept, when it does hit home with your audience, you're able to really scale that campaign more efficiently than you'd maybe been possible with just video ad iterations. But with everything, there's a catch. So playable ads also present some challenges for adoption for studios. Unlike video, where anyone in the team can basically open your phone and screen record an exciting piece of gameplay from your game, playable ads obviously need to be developed. So this takes resources of all kind, from developer resources, money, and time, which is obviously one of the biggest considerations that you have running a successful game studio. And so when we sat down and tried to address this question a couple of months ago around how we could help some studios unlock the power of playables, but without having to make the initial investment in these 3 areas, that's really where Lunar Elements was born. And we kind of asked ourselves this question: what if you could create playable ads in just 5 minutes? So you'll see here a couple of examples from partners that we work with across the globe who've been able to use our tool set to make playable ads with no need for a developer, no need for coding experience. And literally in a couple of minutes, you can have highly engaging interactive ads generated from the tool. So welcome to Lunar Elements. It's our interactive playable builder. Over the past few months, we worked tirelessly to understand some of the key drivers and the key leverage points in playables to drive performance. And what we've been able to do is to distill these learnings and compress those and present them to our customers and partners in a set of highly customizable, highly flexible templates. So playables made with elements are ideal for short, simple playables or to use as interactive end cards. And additionally, we've seen a great uptick in kind of studios adopting this for concept testing ideas before going ahead and making what we'd call like traditionally full playables or dynamic playables. But we're going to address all of these points throughout the demo now. So I'm just going to quickly stop the presentation and jump into the dashboard. So you should see that okay. So for those of you who aren't familiar, this is Lunar Playground. It's our front-end user interface that basically unites your team, whether they be developers or UA managers or creative producers, around the creatives that you produce. We're not going to go too much into the platform itself today. We're going to focus on the Lunar Element tool. But this is essentially that centralized platform that we're producing that allows everybody in the studio to kind of take part in the creative process. So as you'll see now in the top right-hand side, we have this button which allows you to create with elements. And I hope that you'll begin to understand what the product is as we go through the demo as well. So all I'm going to do is hit that button. And this opens our creative gallery. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, we've really tried to understand the key drivers of success within playable ads. And we've been able to create out of those a number of different templates that basically address different user experience examples that we've been able to understand from some of these most common themes that we've seen time and time again. We're committed to investing in this product long-term as well, and we have a good selection of playable templates today, but we're also very keen to hear your feedback as well. If there's templates that we're missing or templates that you feel can drive real value for your studio, then as always, please get in touch and there'll be some contact information at the end. And we plan to continue investing in this area as we learn more as well. So to get started, all I need to do is name my creative. So we'll call this one Webinar Playable. And then with all of our playables, I just want to enter an App Store URL. And then I can scroll across and see some of the templates here. And I'm going to go ahead and choose the tap to play format. And I'm choosing that because the playable that I want to build has several user interactions. And so I want to be able to use this template to leverage that high engaging format. So all I need to do now is hit create. In the background, Lunar is now producing this template for you based on all of the settings that we've built and provided into the tool over the last couple of months. And as you see, I now have a line item here for Webinar Playable. So I can click into that. Now, again, I'm not going to spend too much time explaining all the intricacies of the platform, but essentially this is your playable ad building environment. So all I've done now is I've created a creative, and I'm going to go into that creative. I'm going to be able to create different variations of that creative with our version editor. So by default, we produce kind of an empty version within the account. So I can just click into that. And this is where you're going to be really brought into the meat of the tool. And this is the template builder. So in the center of the screen, you're going to see a preview of everything that you're changing in real time. On the left-hand side is a dynamic menu that changes based on the template that you choose, with a number of different pre-baked options that allows you to create the playable that you want. So with a tap to play, we have a number of options around where to place a user hint and a user interaction and the timing of that. We also have an option for choices that allow you to choose, present up to 3 choices for your users. And there you can go ahead and fully customize the panels and the sizing and the options and the icons. But so every one of these playables has a unique set of these fields, although it's key to call out that they also share some fields as well. So once you've got used to using this tool, you'll find that changing templates is fairly intuitive. So for the tap to play, all I want to do is, first of all, start with a video. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my video. Now I can either choose from a number of already uploaded videos that exist within our media library that's part of the Luna Playground. And these are ones that I was playing around with earlier, but just to go through the experience with you today, I'm going to go ahead and upload a video. So here I'll choose a video I've prepared. And as you can see, we provide a number of different tools that allow you to compress and optimize and change the size of the video. Essentially, I don't really want to touch any of those settings except for part of the video is actually containing some user interface that I don't believe is going to drive a lot of user engagement, and it might be confusing to some users. So I'm going to go ahead and crop that out. So we also provide you a cropping tool within the media library that makes that super easy, so you don't need to go back to any third-party software. And when I'm ready, I'm just going to go ahead and upload that video. Now, the media library is shared across the company. So all of my team can now go in and find this video if they're making the playable or if they're making a different version. And we find that's really helped improve the workflow of several studios to be able to quickly share these assets and icons. As you can see, obviously, I basically uploaded a square video there, but we've also got an option for the background. I'm not going to go into every single field, but I'm just going to highlight some of the main ones. And I think that the video filler is one of the kind of most easy to use and friendly tools to get you off the ground quickly. So for example, as this video obviously won't scale very well in all resolutions, all I want to do here is add a blurred version of the video behind the video. So that means when I rotate the device, you're going to see that the content is still presented in a really kind of beautiful manner, and allows you to make sure that regardless of whatever aspect ratio you recorded in, you're still able to maximize the output using one of our tool sets. Now, as this is a tap to play version, I then want to go through and control the different interaction points within the playable. So for this example, I want to choose 2 interactions. So I'll just change the number of pauses in the video to 2. And then you can see here I can set the timing of each one of these pauses. So the first one happens at 1 second, and that looks okay to me. So I'll interact with the playable. Now you see the second pause is now happening far too early because it doesn't make sense in this context. So what I want to do is play around with this pause, and I'll put it at 4.5 seconds so that you can see the first tap falls in line with the first interaction, and then the second tap then falls in line with the second interaction. And then we present the end card when the video has ended. So that looks great. Now I'm going to address the other kind of glaringly obvious point, which is the kind of attractiveness and the position of that finger hint aren't really matching up with what I want it to achieve right now. So that's where I'll drop down to the first hint configuration. The first thing I'm going to address is the fact that I'm not a big fan of this specific asset for the tutorial finger within this playable. I don't really feel like it matches the theme at all, but don't worry, we got you there. So Luna has also pre-uploaded, I guess, a couple of hundred different assets for you to use within your playables. So here I'm going to go into the gestures folder. I'm going to choose the tap mechanic. And as you can see, we have roughly one to 2 dozen different tapping animations that have already been tested and QA'd with our team to make sure that they're all working smoothly. So I can just quickly scroll down and take a look at some of the different styles. And I think I like this one. So let's go ahead and choose that. Great, that stands out a lot more than the Mickey Mouse style hand, but I think it's quite big. So let me just drop that size down to 10. Okay, that looks great. And then obviously the next thing I need to do is move that finger. So it needs to move slightly over to the right and slightly down. So let me just drag this over to 0.26, and I'll move it down to -0.1. Okay, looks like I've magically aligned with the center of the monster's head. So that looks good. I'll tap there. And then obviously I need to change the second finger. So all I want to do now is drop down to the second hint, go through quickly, and look, this takes a number of minutes just to go through, select the same hint. We don't automatically link these things because often you'll find that the hints don't necessarily happen in the same position within the video. Although if that's the feedback we get, we're always open to hearing it. And change the size. I'll move this over to 0.26 again and minus 0.1. And we should be good to go. So let's test it out. So there's my first interaction point. There's my second interaction point. And then my end card. Great. Now we do have more advanced options. I'm not going to go really into today. So for example, this is actually some feedback we heard from some studios that they want to draw more attention to the user interaction. And so what we've actually built in over the last couple of weeks is the ability to add what we call a hole anyway, but often would be referred to as a mask. So what I want to do here is just quickly select the color of the mask, and I'll choose black with some transparency. And that essentially means at the same time as the hint appears, we also show a hole cut out within that kind of color overlay that we've just applied. And that really draws focus to the area that you want. Now, obviously, I'm just going to have to quickly align that with the finger because that makes sense for this video. There we go. And I'll change the hole size to 3. Great. Now that's already drawn a lot of attention to the right place on the screen. Another option we have is to add some text. So I could put smash him with an exclamation mark. So that adds some text at the same time as the hint. And I can go ahead and I can position the offset of that vertically as well, just to get the exact right position. And then when you tap, both the mask and the text disappear. The next thing I just want to quickly talk through in the last 2 minutes of the demo is the end card. So the end card is, again, something we provide with all the templates that you can fully customize. So just to quickly show you what we can achieve here, I can just upload my own icon. I think I have one from earlier, which was already uploaded into the media library. And I also want to add some text. And then finally, I will go through and add a new font because I don't like the system font. I think I have one. Yes, let's add this font. Great. So now you see the final playable. I interact once. I interact twice. And then my end card appears. And again, I can add rounding. I can add backgrounds to this. I can add the background image. I can change the button. I can change the animation. These are all presets that we have within the dynamic menu on the left-hand side. I won't go through every single one today. One thing I'll just quickly call out is that all of our elements templates come with in-add events. So these are JavaScript events we fire from the playable to be able to track user engagement. As you can see, these are all firing under the hood. So we're able to track, for example, with a 2-tap playable, how many times the user interacts, do they get past the second stage, do they get to the end card? And this allows you and your teams to really understand, well, maybe the engagement rate is slightly lower for a playable, and you can go in and understand, well, why was that happening? Potentially the first frame of the video wasn't that engaging. Can I change the animation? Can I change the call to action text? So this really gives you a leverage point to be able to maximize that format. And then the last thing I'll just quickly show you before we jump back into kind of summary and more information around the UA credits is that this product supports all major ad networks. So these, all you need to do is click download, and these will be the ad networks that you can download the playable for. And essentially, we do all of the wrapping and the APIs under the hood. So you don't need to know how many of these ad formats work specifically. Luna Elements takes care of all that through our automated pipeline. Okay, great. So that was our very, very whirlwind tour through Luna Elements. So hopefully you got a good idea of really the value proposition that we're able to offer your teams. In a matter of minutes there, 5 to 10 minutes, we created a very engaging playable without any need to touch any code or any true understanding. And I think the templates actually take care and help you understand what kind of experience you should be delivering. So here's a case study and a little bit of information we'd like to share from one of Luna's partners, which is BoomBit. They're a great partner of ours, and they really invest heavily in optimizing their creative output and also their creative efficiency, and really just want to create the best content they can, right? And essentially what we found when they adopted Lunar Elements, is that they're able to improve the efficiency of their A/B testing. So as you can see here, what we have is two playables, quite similar in the mechanic in terms of what we're doing. One was built with Elements and one was built with the Lunar Playable Unity plugin. Now, what you're able to do with Elements is actually test many things in a very, very quick amount of time. So for example, they could have the same elements playable whilst testing multiple different cars, different layouts, different backgrounds. And obviously you could do that with a full-blown playable, but it might take you a little bit more time and investment. And so for them, it's really key to having that quick A/B testing functionality. And this actually brings me to an interesting point that we get asked is like, well, when should I build a full playable and when should I use something like Elements to create a more short form interactive experience? And the answer generally is, look, you've got to start with the user experience that you're trying to create. So first of all, understand what mechanic do you want to showcase? What elements do you want to be able to change within the playable to be able to concept test and iterate and try to optimize that experience? And then normally the format will kind of answer itself. I usually find that you probably need both. So it's always great to have a full dynamic playable where the user has completely free-form choice. So they can go left, they can go right, they can go any direction that they want. Obviously, Elements has to be a bit more scripted, but then it also has the power of speed and iteration and concept testing as well. So generally what we're seeing happening is that studios will concept test a few ideas with Elements and then move into full production of a playable, potentially leaving the Elements playable live as an interactive end card, because that's great for driving performance in an already high-performing video campaign. And then really to drive the ROAS and some of the more additional scale you can get from the networks is where you go and invest in a full playable. And usually we see that as kind of the winning technique. So to sum up, here are some tips and tricks. So feel free to take a screenshot of this slide. So really, again, just to kind of help you understand what the key points were there, playable ads are proving more and more to become a vital part of any game studio's growth strategy. And we've been firsthand in that journey since the end of 2018. And we've seen how playable ads have just increased in adoption and performance as people have really started to tap into and understand and leverage that format more efficiently. We think that with a tool like Elements, it's a very complementary product to have with your existing playable strategy. My recommendation to all of our partners is just mix, do everything if you can. But if you're not, at least understand and test and kind of validate those ideas as much as possible. Third point is, I think Elements, as I said, offers a really great way for you to validate ideas before investing that time and resource, because it could potentially take a week for one of your developers to make a playable, depending on what tools they're using, or if you're outsourcing, it could take longer. So for you to be able to know that, okay, it needs to be the desert level with these two cars, and this is the kind of interaction we're going to have for the tutorial, already knows where to kind of point your focus towards. And that means that you're likely to have better success with the output from your playables. And so if you want to sum up the three things I'd recommend for you to think about when you're considering Lunar Elements, it allows you to create playables in minutes with no need to rely on a developer. Lunar provides a lot of the heavy lifting for you with our templates, but also with our asset library. And we're going to continue to invest in that over time. Again, feedback is always welcome. If there's things that we're missing, things that can make your lives easier, please let us know, because that's really, part of our DNA is really just to provide tools that enable studios to be more efficient and effective. And then the last point is all Elements come with Lunar Insights, which is our kind of analytics module that allows you to analyze and understand what's resonating with the audience and what's not resonating with the audience, for you to make nearly real-time changes and get those campaigns live again to test and to optimize and to understand the performance. There's a link there for where you can sign up to a 14-day free trial. So with all of our products, we have a 14-day free trial that gives you access to the platform with a limited number of downloads for each one of those products that should be able to help you evaluate and understand if this can make sense for your business. And to make it even more exciting, we're happy to announce that we are currently running a campaign which can potentially allow you to have $5,000 worth of ads credits per company to use on the ironSource network. So how does it work? So you sign up for our free trial using the link lunarlabs.io/lunarelements. You must already be spending, or you must have an account with ironSource, obviously, to actually kind of put that campaign live. And then if you submit a playable that was built with Luna Elements before the end of July and go live, then you're actually eligible to receive that $5,000 worth of ads credits. That means if you spend 1,000, you're going to be recouped 1,000. If you spend 5,000, you'll be recouped 5,000. The only thing you need to do in order to do that is obviously sign up for the trial, use the product, and then when you're submitting that playable, there's an open field text box where you can add a hashtag created by Elements, and that will flag that in the system for us to be able to pick up and make sure that you're eligible to receive that UA ad credit. So you might want to take a screenshot of that. Or if you have any questions, obviously you can get in touch with us as well, and we can share that information over email. And yeah, that's kind of a very quick whirlwind tour of Luna Elements and what we're building here. So I'm happy to try and take some questions now. So let me just open up the Q&A. Give me a second to read these. So here's one from Alexi. So Alexi's asking, when choosing a video to download, so I assume you mean one of the playable versions you've made, and if I'm wrong, just please put your hand up, Alexi, and we'll get that question right. Do you have to edit it ourselves in advance to get the requirements of the networks? So essentially, no. So first of all, hopefully, as you saw, we have a download panel that already wraps every single playable in the right APIs in order for it to match the kind of technical specifications of the network. We also show you warnings. So if you're exceeding the file size, and that's something to watch out for. If you're exceeding the file size of one of the given ad networks, then we obviously have a red flag that pops up and lets you know that that's happening. It typically happens because the video is too long, or potentially you've got a HD video, you have to downsize it slightly, reduce the resolution, drop the frame rate. But again, within that media library, as you saw, we have a number of options to allow you to apply different kind of optimization techniques to the video. Generally, my recommendation is start with a video that is optimized and the right length, and then move into Luna Playground with it. Obviously, Luna Playground is great to like kind of crop and change things quickly. But if there's any like significant changes you want to make to the video, my recommendation would be to make those beforehand. Let's answer this one. So we have a question from Idan, which I will answer just because it's super interesting. Do you have non-gaming or finance related themes? So I guess you mean the templates, and do we provide any specific for that? I think we've got a number of like end cards in there. One of them is called a static end card. We've got a tap to unloop end card, which is quite interesting, which maybe you could use to show the user to interact with a section of the screen, and when they interact, then the video plays through and shows some investing in stocks or some price chart going in a hockey stick. So definitely there's things that you could leverage already. Although, as I mentioned, we're very early in this in terms of where we want to take it. Even though we're already driving a lot of value, if there's specific templates which you have in mind, then look, I'll share my email after the Q&A section, and I'd love to follow up and understand how we can do that for you. Let's see. There's so many questions. I'm just trying to look through them. All right, we've got a question here. This actually was repeated a few times from Jayakumar. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. How does this differ from the Luna Playable Unity plugin? It's a great question. So the Luna Playable Unity plugin, as you put it, is actually the product that we've worked on for the longest. That's really where the company originated all those years ago. And that essentially allows you to create full HTML5 experiences with a game engine. So we allow you to build in Unity and actually export via our pipeline in a very lightweight and efficient manner. So our overhead and our runtime is under 1 megabyte with great coverage in all the APIs. And that means you can create a very dynamic experience. So to give you an example, if you had a racing game, you'd be able to allow the user to fully interact and drive left and right and turn the car around a track. Luna Elements is templates, mostly around static images, animations, and videos, which, again, whilst they can drive performance, they tend to be a bit more linear in the approach. So obviously, that's not going to work for a driving game. So typically what we would say is that you'd use Elements to maybe have a great end card where it was choose your next car, pick your next racetrack, or tap to launch the car off the start line. But if you want to have a full rich and interactive experience with like driving the car, then obviously you'd want to go and develop that dynamically. And that's where the Luna Unity plugin could come in to play, which obviously needs a developer. So really, whilst they do serve the same inventory in terms of the same potential formats, they have very different approaches that I would recommend that you take. But like with anything, you can always, as I said, drop me an email and we can take a look at a specific use case if you have one in mind. Let me just do a couple more questions because I think we have a little bit more time. Just looking at my team. There was one at the top. I'll answer this one because again, it's hopefully been asked a few times. So somebody's asked, we use Luna Replay to create gameplay videos for video ads. Do you have customers using both products in tandem? And if so, do you have any tips or strategies we should be aware of and what are the benefits of doing this? So yeah, look, not to spend too much time on that, but Luna also has a video plugin called Luna Replay that allows you to record gameplay footage and then replay it virtually on our servers. And in doing that, you can generate hundreds of different customizations, changing characters, colors, languages, resolutions. And so, yeah, we do have customers who use Luna Replay to record the gameplay footage, and then they kind of create these dynamic videos at the end where they're changing colors and characters. Really, the success that we would see there is that actually you can record the same piece of gameplay where you would have the exact same template that the user might interact with at 1 second and 3 seconds. But because you have that video on the same timeline, you can change things, right? So what they would do is they create one version that's kind of perfectly aligned, then they duplicate it and just change the video. And that means they're very, very quickly able to A/B test 2 characters or 2 colors or 2 background sceneries. And that's enabling them to get real-time data on what actually is resonating more with my users. Is it, I don't know, the pirate character or the cowboy character, or is it the jungle theme, or is it the desert theme? Is it the call to action that says play again, or is it the call to action that says, next level? So yeah, by doing that, they're able to basically amplify their creative testing and really validate concepts very, very quickly without much overhead. There's an answer here about Google Ads, which I'll answer. So look, does analytics work with Google Ads? Do you see how far a user has interacted before closing on every platform? That's from Gregor, I'm going to say. Apologies again if I've mispronounced your name. So Luna we basically work within the platform's specifications. So a number of platforms allow the use of third-party analytics because those platforms have generally seen the performance advantage it's giving to their users and being able to understand that user experience, make changes, optimize, iterate. So generally, Google Ads don't support that today, similar to Facebook, but you'll find that most of the SDK networks do. So Unity, Vungle, ironSource, for example, all allow you to run with analytics data. So yeah, if an ad network supports it, we support it. That's essentially the answer. There's a couple more questions. There's a couple of questions around JavaScript playables, and I think, again, like I'll answer that because it's interesting. So obviously Luna has the Elements product. We also have our Unity product that allows Unity developers to build playables. Our platform as a whole, Luna Playground, those features that you saw with the creative variations, the real-time testing, we have like preview links that you can share with your team. We have export pipeline for every major ad network. We actually support the uploading of playables that are built in JavaScript as well. So if you use a JavaScript game engine, we have a pipeline that you can adopt, which is very, very simple. We're actually launching a great developer toolkit in the next couple of weeks that makes that even simpler, but you can still make use of our platform. So you can still create your ad in whatever engine you choose, upload it to our dashboard, and your UA team and creative team can take over control. And that was really where, we saw a lot of early success with Luna with our customers and really resonated in the fact that, yes, Luna Playable is a developer tool, but actually we're just giving the ability for that team to collaborate and for them to create the variations together and understand the data together and make those iterations. And generally that falls in line with kind of one of our core beliefs as a company, which is the creative team needs to be united to have the best success, not compartmented into developers and then the UA team in a different room, right? We see the best success from our partners and customers when those teams are working in close units together. I'm going to take one more question, just because I think we're about to wrap up on time. Stefano, I'll answer your question. What about playable ads loading time? Any difference between the ones created with elements versus Luna playable? Any data on ANRs caused by playable ads? Generally, I don't have any data to hand, Stefano. Like with all playables, we generally use like Chrome developer tools to understand the loading times. We use a couple of scripts as well that we run during our automated testing, and also to find out the FPS and what's causing frame drops. Now in Luna Playable, obviously you're just gonna have the general development problems that you'd have with any platform that you're building on. So using too much memory or doing too much on the CPU at a given time is obviously going to cause some latency in the playable, but then all you would do is optimize that like you would on any game engine. With elements, generally, we've never seen any performance issues, if I'm honest, just because it's mostly CSS and HTML driven with some JavaScript, and that tends to be very responsive. So we generally don't see any performance lags or FPS drops in Luna elements. If you find them though, please let me know. But I'm going to go out there and say that we don't have any, just because of the nature of the way that format is built. I will answer this last question because it's been asked a few times. Just want to make sure it's absolutely clear. This new feature, Luna Elements, does not require Unity or a game engine or Pixie or Play Canvas or any of those game engines that I've seen mentioned in the questions. This is a supplementary tool that allows anybody in the studio to create simple, short form, interactive experiences, even longer playables with the tap to play format, just using art, assets, and some creativity. There's no need for development time. Obviously, as I've talked about a couple of times, there's pros and cons of using both, right? You might want to do a full dynamic experience, in which case we strongly recommend that you build a full playable, and Luna Playable with Unity is a great solution for that. But also if you want something very, very quick, maybe just having the user interact with something once to allow them to choose the level or to ask them to, I don't know, jump a fence on an endless runner, then Luna Elements really lends itself very, very well to those type of interactive experiences. So really start with what you want to do, create your concept, sit down with the team, storyboard it, and then I believe that either one of those tools should allow you to kind of serve that purpose as well. Okay, great. There's still lots of questions. So again, please follow up with me on email. I'm just trying to read through them all. So as I started, I said thank you. I'm going to end and say thank you for all of your time, attention, and questions. It's really great to see so many people here and interested in what we're doing. If you have any questions, there's my email, there's my Twitter handle, so you can reach out to me on both platforms. And yeah, I hope to see some of you sign up to the trial and get in touch with the team very soon. Thanks, everybody.